Filled with sediments from Lake Loess, Walla Walla Valley is a nearly closed basin that extends about 30 miles east to west.
I'm really impressed with this clone though, because I don't see this with anything else I have out here right now. I don't see anything. I'm 58 and I feel like I don't know anything. And I've almost been doing this for 30 years, and this is one of the neatest things, is learning things about new clones and aspects and pruning. And I try to start over almost from scratch every year, because the things I did last year is old news. And the wines are made and done, and I'm trying to make it better. So I'll try new things and experiment with things a little bit, try to see if I can push it. Because everybody else in the world of wine that's any good is doing the same thing.
Compared to European terroirs of the same latitudes, the climate of Washington's Walla Walla Valley is warmer with mostly sunny days and little precipitation during the growing season, whereas Central Europe is generally cloudier.
Where we're standing is 8 inches a year of annual rainfall. Pepper Bridge Vineyard, which we'll look at this afternoon, is 12 inches. Lake Colleen, which is just on the other side of the valley, is 24 inches. So we farm totally different across, and we get different flavors.
Great variety of distinctive soils in the Walla Walla Valley. Some of these soils are ideal for growing wine grapes. Others are completely unsuitable. As a result, adjacent vineyards and even subsections of vineyards often present radically different terroir profiles despite nearly identical climate conditions.
The soil materials that we farm in, that we raise our grapes in, vary tremendously in some places, from bouldery gravel bars in one part of a vineyard to fine silty sediments even in another part of that same vineyard. We're in the Oregon part of the Walla Walla Valley appellation, and Christophe Baron, the vigneron, the wine grape grower and winemaker, together has had the inspiration to plant the vineyards here on the cobblestone. That the stones actually add character to the wine, because the stones heat up in the daytime, and then they actually re-radiate heat in the nighttime, and so they change the temperature profile by putting the fruit down low. The Syrah grapes that he grows here, he makes a number of vineyard designate Syrah wines that have tremendous flavor depth, and he attributes quite a bit of it to his choice of this site on cobbles. Now, one thing that's really interesting about this site is that he's getting extraordinary results with his grown varieties, particularly with Syrah, but also with Viognier.
In 1974, half an acre of Cabernet Sauvignon grapes was planted on the Leonetti homestead. When the first vintage, a 1978 Leonetti Cellars Cabernet Sauvignon, was pronounced the best Cabernet Sauvignon made in America by the Wine and Spirits Buyer's Guide, enologists and viticulturists the world around began to take note of the incredible potential of the Walla Walla Valley.
Hi, I'm Chris Figgins of Leonetti Cellar, and I'm the winemaker here. We're standing in Loess Vineyard, which overlooks the winery, which was founded by my parents in 1977. This site was planted in 2002 to Cabernet Merlot, Petit, Verdot, and a little bit of Syrah that we're just playing with. Also our first experience with Malbec. Got other estate vineyards, our Seven Hills, which is on the southern end of the valley. This vineyard, which is called Loess, and our Mill Creek Upland Vineyard. Those are our 3 estate vineyards, each with slightly different terroirs that we like to get different flavors from. They're also different ripening, and be a complete estate-grown property, which is kind of the goal, both in terms of quality and just the prestige of growing it all ourselves. We're able to have tighter control on all our fruit. When it's here, we own the land, we can manage it sustainably long-term and do its best for the long-term health of the vineyard. and plus just cut absolutely no corners in the vineyard when it comes to viticulture.
In response to the variable terroir, vineyard managers often choose to restrict yields and thereby optimize grape quality by controlling irrigation. A great advantage over many European growers who are prevented by law from irrigating their respective terroirs. A good example is at Woodward Canyon, where Rick Small grows Cabernet vines. Here, these terraced hills are designed to yield small quantities using unique cropping techniques.
I learned a long time ago that I'm not going to try to make these plants do more than they're capable of doing, because this is kind of simple stuff, actually. You just watch the plant and pay attention to it. I mean, I don't want these things. These things aren't real vigorous. We've got some good fruit there, but the canopy that supports that fruit is just barely enough canopy to probably get it ripe, and probably not a whole lot more. But that's all I want.
First planted in 1981, Seven Hills Vineyard is one of the oldest and most prestigious in the valley.
Seven Hills is a very well-known vineyard below us. 2 years ago, Wine and Spirits called it one of the 10 great vineyards in the world. Seven Hills is really the elegant vineyard. The further you go to the east, the more muscle you find into the grape. And it comes down to what kind of wine you're trying to make, really. A semi-novice taster can pick up a definite difference. This is the earliest ripening vineyard in the valley, and this vineyard is farmed with minimal input, meaning we do the least amount of chemicals that we can get by with in the vineyard, and we use nothing but soft chemicals versus chemicals that have a half-life more than 3 months. We're standing beside wild roses that are planted along the full perimeter of the vineyard. These roses are habitat for a small parasitic wasp that's very small, but overwinters on either wild roses or blackberries. If you have them in the area, you can keep the wasp. And they lay eggs on the leafhoppers, which are one of the insects that we have to fight in the vineyard. So it's just one more way to let Mother Nature help us not have to use chemicals.
Pepperbridge Vineyards was planted in 1991 near the lower portion of the valley. The grapes from this site add a unique masculine character to Walla Walla Big Red wines.
This vineyard will follow Seven Hills by usually 7 days before it ripens up. Where we mentioned we had 8 inches of rainfall at Seven Hills, it's 12 here. Doesn't sound like a lot of difference, but it's 50% more. It really does make a difference. And Pepper is the lowest of our vineyards. It's 850 feet above sea level here. We were 1180 at the gazebo, and Lake Helene goes to 1400. The cold air settles, and so this is the vineyard that's always the hardest hit, the cold. And unfortunately, it also is a vineyard that adds a lot of muscle to our wine, so it's one that we did not abandon.
Woodward Canyon, founded in 1981 and now one of the leading wineries in the United States, may not impress you at first glance, but its wines will impress you deeply on first taste. That's because Rick Small keeps his attention sharply focused on the quality of his lusciously complex Cabernets and Merlots.
This is truly the essence of Woodward Canyon right here. This is about as good as I can get it. I love my whites, and I'm proud of my Chardonnay and my Sauvignon Blanc, and I do as much as I can to make those right. But this, I think in time, in a generation or two more, this will be, I want to be the thing that people think about when we think about Woodward Canyon and Woodward Canyon property and our soil and the erratic and the silt and the windblown loess and the basalt and everything. I want him to think about it in terms of this. I'm seeing little glimpses of improvement, of subtlety, of character, and that's really a neat thing. That's very, very, very gratifying, and it's what drives me. It's what I want. I've had people come to me and say, well, God, this is just such an old dumpy shed. Why would you have such wonderful barrels in here? And I said, because I like them. The wine doesn't know it's in an ugly building. All it knows is that it's in a beautiful barrel.
Within this small appellation, you will discover as much variation as found in entire provinces or even entire nations in other regions of the world. Yet, the correlation between terroir, grape varieties, and wine styles is clear. Consumers of Walla Walla Valley wines can appreciate the reflection of terroir in the unique nuances of the wine.